All right. Well, thank you everyone for having us back. We're excited for part two. We enjoy the coaching and training aspect of what we do greatly. Brown and I had a little chat yesterday evening, just kind of preparing for this, and both talked about how much we enjoy that. So hopefully you got great value last week, and we're hoping to provide at least that or better this week. So let's jump in. I think I'll introduce Brianna. We haven't really shared. We just saw the Bulldogs. I love Bulldogs. I had a Bulldog, two of my favorite dogs growing up. So I'm jealous seeing Brianna's Bulldogs. I don't know. I might have to get another one. We got a Golden Doodle right now, which was my wife's pick, not mine. So Brianna, as you see here, accomplished rugby player. We talked about last week. She's coaching the national women's rugby team. She likes to travel. Been to the Great Wall. Her boyfriend Alex is a stand-up comedian. That's another thing I'm jealous of. I love stand-up, and I admire the work that they do. So, and she's currently in Austin, Texas. So a little bit of Brianna. Anything else we need to know about you, Brianna, before we get started here?
No, that is pretty much me. Rugby, work, and my dogs. Yeah.
I think that, we've worked together for like 5 years now. I think that's all I know about you is those things. So I don't know if it's, All right, and then myself here. I think we shared. I was a financial advisor 15 years, employee benefits as well. My wife and I have been together since I was 13. She was 14. Got 4 kids. Like basketball, Spartan races, traveling, and I live outside of the Charlotte area, so it's a little bit on us as well. All right, so let's dive in. One of the things we see, and Brian, why don't you talk about this? I mean, you see this a lot. You work with a lot of advisors. The number one thing we see, niche and USP. Why are those things so important, and why do we see this as one of the biggest indicators of success in our members?
I think the biggest thing when it comes to USP and niche, and for those that don't know what USP means, it's that unique sales proposition. So basically, this is your way to connect with your audience. You're essentially saying through a USP and through a defined niche that you have the solutions to the problems of your clients. So if we can't really figure out what that niche is or figure out what that USP is clearly, that's where confusion between you and prospects happen. And we want to clear that up and get you as many prospects as possible, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Why do you think, and I'll share my thoughts as well, but why do you think this is so important today? Why are we seeing this as such an indicator, right? And we've been doing this a while. And I think we've always seen things shift in the program, right? And we've always had to change tacks a little bit to keep having success we've had over the years. Why do you think niche and USP have become so important today?
Yeah, for me, the first thing that comes to mind is, when COVID hit, everybody had to go virtual. So now when you're living in this virtual space, it's, now important more than ever to make sure that it's clear and easy for people to understand what you're doing in order to help them. So, not only is it clear, but knowing how to bring that USP and that niche and what you do on a digital platform. I think that can be kind of difficult for a lot of people who weren't used to, prior to COVID, being so virtual. So again, with the kind of day and age and the way that the world is moving more virtual, I think that that's probably the most important thing to do.
And one of the things we saw too, so when COVID hit, we saw such an increase in activity on social media platforms, right? We watch these things. We know LinkedIn just kind of went off the charts itself. And what was strange initially is a lot of our accounts started to perform less and less. We watch everything daily. We're in our accounts. We're watching the numbers, and we see trends happening, early so we can get ahead of them. One of the things we had to do and adjust real quick was our messaging. And what we learned from that is when all that activity went up, it got so noisy, right? And you guys see this in your personal life. When there's so much going on, you're missing stuff left and right. Things are falling through the cracks. You're not catching some things that are coming through, emails, whatever it be that you're missing. Same thing happens digitally, and we've seen this last year especially. So we shifted our messaging a little bit. We tweaked it, and we started really focusing on niche and USP. And what that allows, that'll allow you to break through the noise and all the stuff that's going on digitally and speak directly to your target market. So that's the main message of today. And with that, I'm going to share with you one of the questions I think you need to ask yourself when you're working on either of these things. Why would a potential prospect take their time to respond to your message? All right. Ask yourself that question as a prospect, not as an advisor. Okay. Because we tend to use jargon and terms and planning and the things we know are important in the process that we're working on, or if we're planning someone for life insurance or benefits, the importance that we know. It's not the emotional or the real why that your clients have, right? And most of it have been in sales training. You got to ask why 3 times to get to the real answer. Same thing here with that niche and USP. So Brown, talk about this for a moment and why this is so important. And we'll go a little deeper on this, because I think this is vitally important.
Yeah, so one of the things I really just kind of want to stress here is when a lot of people come into the program, or just in general when they're getting on social media, they want to do this thing where they want to talk about themselves. So like as an advisor, and the reason we do it is coming from a good place, right? We know that we have something as advisors that can really help other people. So we want to talk about that all the time. So you'll see a lot of people will post their logos really, really big and bright, because they're like, this is, me. And they really make it all about themselves. But really you have to remember, like, why would a potential prospect take their time to respond to like you, right? And the idea is that you have to make everything you do about the prospect, not about ourselves. So when you're on social media and you're creating things like banners, or you're creating messaging, or bios in certain areas, make it about your prospect, right? Once they gain that relationship with you and you can solve a problem that they have, that's when they're going to want to dive deeper into who you are. But you can't present yourself talking about yourself, right? How many people have been on like terrible dates or have friends that just talk about themselves? Nobody likes that. You don't want to do that same thing in marketing either.
Yeah, and that's important in all of this, because we do have that tendency, and we also tend to hang our hat on our process or what we do to help our clients, and we're not getting to the heart of the matter, what they actually want or need. And we see this time and time again. We'll talk about this a little more specifically when we get to USP. But I think as you're asking yourself this question, understand that your competition has grown, right? The local market that used to be in the networking groups where you were the only person in your field that was allowed in that group. Now it's a Google search away. People are willing to do business through Zoom, virtually, on the phone. That whole world's open up. It's a huge opportunity. I think it's one of the biggest opportunities that all of you have to expand your practice and think bigger, but it's also competitor and a direct risk to your practice as well. All right, so let's kind of keep going here, and let's walk through the prospect journey, because I think this will help you as you're visualizing this process. Understand what your prospects are seeing, and we're speaking specifically to LinkedIn, but this applies to a lot of different areas, as you'll see. So Brian, what do we have in front of us here? So we've got messages. Can you walk us through the process that a prospect is taking when we're chatting with them?
Yeah. So again, just to emphasize what Chris said, this is really a LinkedIn process, but it really can apply to multiple platforms as well. So the idea is that a prospect gets a message from you, right? This can, in our case, usually be a LinkedIn message that they're receiving privately. In other situations, it could also be maybe if you're doing Facebook or even YouTube, things like that. But when someone gets something from you, right, they're going to want to naturally just look into you. Being a curious world, we tend to do that, right? So they're going to look on your profile. In the LinkedIn process, you actually see your viewed profile numbers on your account. So you can see how many people and who exactly is looking at your profile. So when they're coming there, they're looking for something, right? Because the message that you sent essentially intrigued them. From there, this is so important. So banner, this is going to become, we'll talk about this a little bit later and show you some examples, but the banner on your LinkedIn page, again, on your other social medias, people see that right away because we are such an image driven world. So you really want to utilize that. I know a lot of people think like having those kinds of things are maybe not important, but they're so important. And then from there, once they read your banner, they're usually going to read your USP. So for those that are asking in the Q&A, what is USP? Again, that's your unique sales proposition. And we'll go into that later, but it's essentially a phrase that shows how you and your audience connect and what you do to help them. So once they read your banner, they'll take a look at your USP. If they resonate with what's happening on your banner and your USP, they're naturally just going to read your about section and dive deeper into more of how you help them and really who you are. And again, that's kind of the LinkedIn process, but you can see that with people that visit your websites or, take a look at your Facebook groups, things like that too.
Great. Thank you, Brown. And I want to talk a little bit more about the strategy behind each of these, just so you understand the process and what you're and this is similar no matter what. Once someone learns about you, or once you capture someone's attention, they're going to go do their homework. All right. And you're not going to know if you're losing people or not, because they're going to go Google you, they're going to look at your website, they're going to look at different things. And if you don't have your message on point and all the things we're talking about here, that's why niche and USP are vitally important, I believe. All right, we got a question from Karen Ness here. And the question becomes, what happens if we're not supposed to talk about ourselves? How do we find out what the prospect wants? How do we tell them what we do? How do we transition that? That's a great question. And I'm gonna go back to niche real quick on this. So we want to mostly focus on USP here, but I want to talk niche for a moment. If you pick a narrow but a good niche that's abundant in prospects and resources that you can have a practice in, right? But if you pick that niche and you understand every aspect of them, what they deal with, their problems, their struggles, what they want, what they're motivated by, if you understand all those things, right? Then you can craft messaging that takes them through this prospect journey. They're going to learn that. So Karen, they're going to know what you can do for them, how you can help them, all of those pieces by just following this journey. And that's why we laid it out here. Your initial messages, the initial interactions, just to get their attention. Once you've got their attention and they want to learn more about you, they're going to go to your profile. They're going to go to your website. They're going to go somewhere like that. The banner, we have a question. What's the banner? That's for most of you, I'd say 90% of you, that's the blue and gray box above your photo on LinkedIn. But that's a banner image that you can put a header image in, and it's like a billboard for your company, for your services right there, right when someone comes to it. So it's super important. And as people see those things, both visually and as they read it, and your message is directed to them, you're speaking to them, all right? And I know all of you in our shift class, I know I beat this one up, but I'm gonna use a very specific example for you to illustrate this. My biggest fear in life is sitting in the front row of my daughter's wedding and not knowing how I'm going to pay for it. Before I've had daughters, that was my biggest concern. All right, I want to give them that wedding. I don't want to have to worry about it. I want to know that they're taken care of. So if I'm your niche, all right, 36-year-old men who love basketball, who are terrified to sit in the first row of their daughter's wedding and worry about, man, how are we going to pay for this? What do we got to do? That's me. And if everything you do and say across this whole thing is geared towards me and how you can help me and solve my problem, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to send you a message. I don't say that's not a hint to go after that niche. I don't think it's a very large niche. I may be the only one in the world that has that problem, but I hope that illustrates the point and kind of the process that you're trying to walk them through here. Brian, anything to add to this?
Just for me, this comes up a lot about the banner. So the reason specifically, if you see the image that Chris used is a billboard, is I like to think of your social media platform banners as billboards, right? If you were driving down the highway, or if your prospect was driving down the highway, does this image that you're putting out there, do they resonate with it, or would they just keep driving by because it doesn't really relate to them, right? So you need to think of that when you're doing things. And there's really good techniques and things you can do, and we'll talk about that later, to really like gain their attention, but that's why it looks like a billboard.
Yeah, great. All right, thanks, Brianna. All right, moving on here. And again, any questions or anything, we're monitoring in the Q&A, so just throw them in there and we'd be happy to jump into that. All right, so let's just talk about niche a little bit more here. We shared this last week. Everyone is not your target market. And the reason I wanted to share it again, I want you to hear it. Okay. I know you're scared. I know the fear of losing out, missing out on opportunities. But the first question I always ask when we have members of our program say, oh, I don't want to go too narrow. I'm afraid I might miss out on somebody, or I might upset somebody on there. My first question is, how much business and how much marketing are you doing on LinkedIn right now? And that's usually little to none, right? So anything you get is going to be better. So just trust us. We've seen this. We've done it. So again, remember, please, as Jeremiah would say, there's riches and niches for a reason here. All right. And this is one of them, law of diffused effort. I love this. I love it because especially in today's world, it's so easy to get distracted. So easy, right? Just pick up your phone and you got your game that you're halfway through that you just want to keep playing, right? I mean, it's just so easy to get distracted. And if you're not focusing your efforts in one area, and specifically we're talking about niche here, it's too hard. There's too much to do, and there's too much noise and distraction and content. It used to be you had a cable subscription. We cut cable years ago. I'm like, cool, we got a $12 Netflix bill. I was looking at our budget. We got a $12, it's like $15 now with our kid accounts. We've got an Amazon account, we got a Hulu account, a Disney account, a YouTube account. It's like, man, I'm spending more than I was on cable. There's so much distraction and so much all around us. So focus those efforts in one area. Anything to add to that, Brian? I mean, we see this, right? We see people trying to do that, and you're working against yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the idea there is if you go in the door, right, with somebody on one niche, one pain point, and you help them, we all know that usually opens door for you to find other problems that exist, other referrals that can be brought on that they just love working with you so much that they help you in other areas. So just don't be afraid of picking one thing and going after it.
I'm gonna
No.
just jump in with a thought there, guys. Is that I know that that's a scary thing. Like I'm looking at Suzanne's comment. How do you choose a niche? Um, and it's a scary thing to commit. Like as an advisor, I know that especially if in your first 5 years, you're probably a little frustrated, probably a little scared that if I fully commit to construction companies, right? For example, that what's going to happen to all this other business that might come my way? Do I have to say no? The answer is, work, implement gradually. So mentally you make that commitment to a niche and still pick up, the other deals along the way until you get to that point where you're like, this is my tribe. They love me. I love them. This is where I want to live. And what happens is magnetically, you're going to know that tipping point because clients will start coming to you because they find you like, hey, I noticed that everything you post is about construction and helping people who have construction companies, retire better. So what do you got? And that's a magic moment. And it doesn't happen in a month. It doesn't happen in 6 months usually. Usually takes about 1 or 2 years to fully cement, only because you need to understand the industry lingo. But it's okay to make that a transition. It doesn't mean you have to start, today right away. So hopefully that's helpful, that you can start making those plans. You can start activating your LinkedIn initiatives or your Facebook group initiatives, whatever, targeting strategy you're going to use. But it's good to look at that as a long-term goal. Like you could set a goal like by March 1st of 2022, I want to have 5 clients who are CEOs of construction companies. And that could be your benchmark, right? Knowing that you're breaking into that niche. So just something to think about along the way.
Thanks, Jeremiah. And this question, how do I choose a niche? That is, there's a lot of ways to choose a niche. I'll give you 3 quick examples. Number 1, look at your top 20 clients. What do they have in common? Where did you meet them? Just different things like that you can kind of, take some quiet time to do this and see what the commonalities are, what's there. And there might be a way to start and just create centers of influence. I had a great experience with a center of influence when I started as an advisor with golf. We played golf, and that was a way we grew our practice. The next, what are you interested in? What do you like to do? All right. Brianna, if she could work with rugby people all day and helping them, I mean, she would love that. I know she loves working with advisors too, but one of her passions is rugby. I love basketball. If I could play basketball and write some business, well, I'm all good. So, what do you love to do? What do you enjoy? Because of the people, as Jeremiah said, it takes time as well. So 2, 5, 10 years down the road, if you're having a client event and you're all doing what you love, golfing, cooking, whatever, spelunking, right? Going cave diving. I've heard of that too. Advisor doing that, whatever it is, it'll be a much more enjoyable practice as well. All right. So just kind of start thinking along those lines and what you want to do. And the other thing is your past experience. The third thing would be past experience. Did you have a previous career? Was there something you did or enjoyed, or a group you've been associated with, or an experience that you had that you can build off as well and work with people that had those same things that you can help? So 3 quick tips there as you kind of think through it and take some time to brainstorm on that a little bit and let it simmer. All right. Let's keep moving here. We're trying to monitor the questions here. All right, so here's some examples of niche real quick. I'm going to leave this up here while we answer some questions. You guys can kind of read through it. But I think like doctors, lawyers, or CPAs, niches that are too broad. If you're going after all 3 of them, certainly it's too broad. If you're going after one, there's specific disciplines or areas that you could focus on. There's ways to do that still. Focus on, let's say, medical professionals, but in campaigns that you do speak specifically to a title or a role. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. Charlie, dentist from previous career. Dentists are, that's a great niche as well. Lots of opportunity there.
I'm going to hit up, I'm going to hit that up because I was just creating a screenshot for you, Dennis, but check this out. Like, go to LinkedIn, type in the word dentist, select groups. That's a false belief you have there that they don't seem like they're on LinkedIn much. Like, there's 1,000 groups on LinkedIn for dentists, 1,000 groups. That means 1,000 different individuals said there is enough dentists here that I'm going to start my own group. There's Dentist Professionals Network, 4,000 people here. This is dental and dental hygienists, 1,500, 1,400, 400, so on and so forth. These are kind of small groups comparatively to the other groups. So there's a big opportunity here. And if you even want to get fancier, to go under Sales Navigator, and then Chris, you can jump in here if you've got, or Brianna, you guys got a thought, but I think it's valuable that we kind of debunk some of these myths. Sure. That people are throwing out there. And don't forget, there's different disciplines of dentistry, right? You can go down. So there's 670,000 people with the keyword dentist on LinkedIn. And if you want to know who's the most active, 15,000 of them have posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. 5,000 of them took the time to go to LinkedIn and change their job title or description. So, the industry, the market is huge. You just have to know how to target and how to find them. Hopefully that's helpful to you, Janice, and kind of opens your eyes as that. And then you can go in sub niches, right? Like talk about law of diffused effort. Don't just do dentists. Do I don't even know. I'm like, what's one of those other? There you go. Thank you. Orthodontists, right? So that's how to help you guys kind of see where you can do your targeting.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a lot of questions here about specifically how to do this. And I'll be honest, our course is 6 weeks, 6 modules. We have 7 hours of coaching each week, and it takes a lot of time sometimes to dig through this. So we're not going to have time to really answer some of the specific questions in here, but I would say just really start thinking on it and try to take these principles. But just to answer a couple of them, the groups is a great point by Jeremiah. Great way to target a lot of different things on LinkedIn and start looking at that and seeing if there is a market for your niche. The other piece to that is being a subject matter expert, right? Bob, you had a comment in here, Bob Hertz, that all the solutions are the same. That is exactly what we're talking about here, right? Most advisors have the same tool chest that they can pull out, right? Technology's gotten to the point where a lot of broker dealers can't even compete, differently there from the large ones to the small ones, because technology's gotten so affordable and so advanced. You need to differentiate, right? And if you have the same solutions and products, everyone else does too. So creating that niche, rising through the noise are all super, very important things. It doesn't mean you can't do business with people outside of that niche, because then the conversation is just, hey, I have this niche. It's just kind of how my practice is growing, but I also work with other individuals. I have other individuals in my practice, and you can ask for referrals, the same thing you're doing now. So again, my point is here, LinkedIn, if you're not using LinkedIn, give it a shot. All right. Brianna, what else you got to add to that here? I think we need to keep moving on for time here.
You can show your screen again if you want, Chris.
Oh, yep. Sorry.
The only thing I was going to add while Chris says that is a lot of times we find these people through Sales Navigator. So if you're in the Shift program, you're super used to this search engine. But if you don't have Shift or you're not on LinkedIn yet, look up the app Sales Navigator. It's basically a huge search engine that gives you the ability to really narrow in on who you're looking. The regular, just I think Boolean search on LinkedIn can be kind of limiting. So check that out if you want to dive into that.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Brianna. All right, so that USP is where we want to spend some time on, right? Niche is super important to this, because knowing your niche allows you to create a very targeted, unique, and direct USP to start that conversation, to get people understanding what you do and how you can help them. So let's dive into that. Let's just walk through kind of what we see here in front of us. So there's 3 categories: what you do well, what your competitor does well, and what the consumer wants. And we see here, I'm just going to focus on that green check mark here between what you do well and what your consumer wants. And you see the overlap, because there's the thing you do well: financial planning, retirement planning, estate planning, Monte Carlo simulations, all the stuff that you guys do, disability illustrations, risk return, alpha, betas, all the stuff that you're looking at with stocks and investments that your prospects and clients don't care about, right? They have a result, they have an end goal that they want, they have something they need and want out of the relationship. Those things are how you do it. It's not super important to them, other than they know you are capable of it, right? What they want, they have wants and needs. There's an overlap there, and that's the sweet spot of how to create that USP and where you're going to get the most attraction from those people and speak directly to them, okay? So stay in that zone. Stay away from your competitors. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about missing out. Work on your strengths and build something special using those kind of key tools there. Brian, anything to add there?
I don't know. I think that sometimes people see their competitors doing something and they kind of maybe get a little like, oh, they're also doing that, or how do I kind of stand out in this space? I think if you're genuine about what you're doing and you really want to like help people and you make it all about them, it doesn't really matter what your competitors are doing. Just like focus on what you have and go with that.
100%. We hear authenticity is kind of a buzzword, genuine is kind of a buzzword, but they're so important because we don't know each other. We don't trust each other yet, right? We hope we can. We hope all people are good, but anything that kind of disrupts that trust, that message they're hearing, you're going to lose them. All right. So you got to keep consistent. So if you're a fun, joyful, playful person, let that come out in what you say, what you do, in the way you do things. If you're buttoned up, professional, by the book, that's fine too, right? If that's you, both things play as long as it's you and what you're doing for your clients. All right, so the formula, super, super important. All right, here's the formula. We shared this last week. We'll leave it up here a little longer this week. Target audience, desire they have, the pain they want to avoid. All right. The number one issue we see, so I coach the hour on niche and USP, and we review these every week. And everyone that comes in, we are missing one piece of this almost every single time. That's the pain they want to avoid, the emotion. What do they get out of it? Why do they want to pick up the phone? Why do they want to send you an email? What do they get out of talking with you? I get a retirement plan. That doesn't sound fun, right? It's important, not fun. What do I get? I get to not worry about my retirement. I get to go travel with my kids and family. I get to whatever I want to do. Steve, I know you're a basketball fan, play basketball, right? Whatever it is. What do I want? And that target, that's why it's so important to talk to that target market. I mean, Brana, we see this all the time, right? I mean, this is one of the biggest mistakes that we see in this area.
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest thing. I always say it's like people aren't finishing the sentence, right? I saw somebody was posting in here, your target audience is women, pre-retirees, a certain age, right? With that being said, again, like the word retirement is not, for lack of better words, it's not a sexy word, right? Chris like always says that it's not a fun word. So how do we make it? Why is that important? Why do they want to work with you about retirement plans and stuff like that? So figuring out what that is, and that's where you can add that personality and that fun, connecting piece, right? So you can spend more time with your family as a woman. We know that that's very important, right? Or to have more, maintain a certain lifestyle, take more trips with your family. Those are all things we see a lot.
Yeah, let's do a little experiment here because I would love to just see this. And be honest, all right? We're gonna need honesty from you all right? We're all friends here. One of the biggest niches we hear when someone comes in, what's your niche? Holistic planner, holistic financial planner. How many of you have ever called you, put a yes in here, have called yourself a holistic planner when talking to a client? That's what you do. All right, because this proves the point where we all have the same tools and all of those things, right? I know, don't lie to us, guys. We know the truth here. All right. Not that it's a bad thing. Very important. We know it's very important, but it's not a differentiator. And this illustrates that point. Thank you to those that were being Roman. Come on, man. I know Roman. All right, cool. Anything else here, Jeremiah? I know I'm sure you got some insights on this. We see this as a big problem here.
I think you're really hitting it on the point. I think we're really good. Like Aldo's asking a good follow-up question to this, which I think is smart, is, are we saying that, we have to spike fear and pain to move people to action? And do we have to have a list like FOMO or other fears? So, there's a whole other discussion around this. Like there's 7 drivers that will make people move something or make a decision. Pain is one of them. The desire for significance is another. The desire to be loved, to be accepted, to be seen as distinct. Like there's a lot of different psychology there, and you don't have to be somebody that, always focuses on the pain, but it's just figure that last piece out. Without what is the number one thing they're trying to run away from? Without, the uncertainty of knowing how much you'll have in retirement, without overpaying on your policy, without worrying about market corrections. Do you see how those are 3 things that people want to do without? So take 10 minutes after this and start writing down, what are the things that I've heard people tell me they don't want? and then use that and start testing it at the back end of your USP.
Thank you. Thank you. Always good stuff on that from Jeremiah. Thank you, sir. All right. So here's some examples. Oh, it's a little blurry on my screen. I look better. I got a big screen here, but hopefully you guys can see this okay. So just some examples that you can see of people, what they've done. And I want to share the analogy. I'm going to share it again. Good, better, best. We'll talk about that in a moment. But just remember that as we're kind of looking through here, help professionals gain financial freedom by leveraging farmers insurance options. I help people plant their own money trees. Something like that, where it doesn't follow our formula. It's intriguing. What kind of money trees? What's he doing over there, right? Things like that that are intriguing to get you to follow that little workflow that we had of just kind of walking down the path and learning more about you, about the services, about what you're doing. All super important stuff there. All right. We've highlighted a couple of our members here. So David has a culinary background, and he got his RV that he travels around and he'll cook for his clients or prospect. Like one of the most creative, interesting things that we've seen out of our program. And he's doing really well. And just the way that he approaches it, financial chef, cooking everything but the books. I mean, you can just tell that's personality. And if you met David, that's his personality, and it just kind of shines through. So really good stuff there. Nick, who was on last week, I know he's on this week too. Medical professionals, doing great, closing some big deals already, 30 days in. So keep up the good work there, Nick. But you see how the banner images. So just quickly look back at yours, right? Again, probably 90% of you have that blue and gray, the stock image from LinkedIn. And then Dan's one that's went down the road of actually specializing in working with specific companies and is having a lot of success there. So all different approaches, but just kind of an example of what you'll see and how you can take advantage of what we're talking about here. All right. I want to share a couple resources here with you real quick that I think are helpful. Job titles on LinkedIn. So if you can search this, it's on LinkedIn, but there's a list of job titles. And this helps you as Brianna shared Sales Navigator prior. Jeremiah showed us a little demo of it real quick. There's a title in there where you can search on titles, roles, different things like that. But there's a way to figure out too if there's a market. So as you're walking down this path, you find your niche, you're searching for job titles, you can see how many people as you're doing these searches, you can check the groups, you can do all these things to make sure it's a viable market. But the second piece to that is earning potential. So LinkedIn has a tool. You can put their title and their company into United States and the role and see what their earning potential is. And this again shows you, all right, is this a market for somebody, depending upon the area I am in, the title that I'm going after, or these people that have the resources that are ideal prospect for me. We're all in different stages in our career and our practices. So just kind of looking for the getting yourself off to the best start possible and making sure that you have a good market with good titles and a good role and all the other things that we've kind of talked through here. Brian, anything to add to these just 2 points real quick?
No, I think the biggest thing I'll just kind of stress is if LinkedIn is super new for you and you're not really sure, LinkedIn alone has a lot of really great resources to learn these types of things. Like even the Sales Navigator thing we talked about earlier, they have their own little mini course with little videos on how to learn how to use Sales Navigator. If you're not sure how to do something too, I promise you someone on YouTube or on Google has made a video on how to do it as well, or there's an awesome blogger article. So Google things, guys, if you have questions, that's a really great resource too.
Yeah. And again, question about it, just Google like LinkedIn, discover your earning potential, and it'll pop right up for this if you want to pull this tool. All right. So last bonus content we wanted to share, and I think we've dealt with hundreds of advisors at this point. Brianna, you've onboarded hundreds, we've coached hundreds. Would you agree that everyone has their preferred way of doing things and their own timeline to do things sometimes? I'm putting that nicely.
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Right. And we see this time and time again. So here's a piece of advice I just want to throw out there. I've been sharing this a lot, been beating this down because I think it's super important. Good, better, best. We want you at your best, but some of you are spending so much time getting there that your analysis by paralysis, you're just stuck in that cycle and not getting it out there. We have members of our program, they're looking at the same thing. What's my niche? Should I do this? And kind of just evaluating analysis, just all day. get it out there, start taking action, execute. Okay. You can't, so we've shared basketball, right? My mom got me this plaque when I was in high school. You miss, well, not forever. You miss all the shots you don't take, right? Shoot the ball, get out there, get going. So if it's good, get it out there, keep working on it, improve it, get feedback, right? Minimum viable product, MVP, just get it out there, get it to your best. We want it at your best, but just start working on it and execute. Brianna, agreed?
Yeah, and one thing too, guys, just some bonus advice for things like your banner or the copy on your about section of your LinkedIn profile. If you just feel like that's not your strong suit, don't take time spinning wheels trying to do it. Go outsource to somebody else that can do it for you, right? Really great resources are Canva if you want to use templates. So Canva. Canva has amazing templates that you guys can kind of interact with and get the ball rolling so you don't have to start from scratch. If you want to pay someone to outsource it, go to fiverr.com, Fiverr. Just pay someone $10, create a banner for you, and boom, it solves your problem. Do not get stuck on what you're not good at. Outsource that.
Awesome. Thank you. Curtis, thanks. Gotta love Shaq, right? All right, cool. I think, Jeremiah, we got a couple minutes left. We can turn it back over to you. Anything else here, but hopefully we've delivered again. If you guys have any questions or anything, we look forward to hopefully working with you in the future.
Yeah, awesome work, guys. I know if the hundreds of advisors were here live, they would be cheering you guys on. Just some great comments coming in here. People are saying, how massively valuable this is, and they're taking tons of notes. I've been in there answering, guys. You guys can keep asking a few questions here before we close it out. Some of you are asking, what does it take to work with us? If that's something you're interested in doing, you can go over here to meetwithadvisors.com. I'll drop the link in HTTPS. I have to put like the weird colon stuff. Yeah, okay, there you go. You're going to be brought to a page like this. Let me just show you here. So if that's something you want to do, just head over to this page, meetwithadvisors.com. You're going to put in your email address, your phone number, and hit next. And then what's going to happen is it's going to jump into the calendar. So you can actually book a call with us for 15 minutes. Just have a chat with us. Let us know what's on your mind. We'll ask you a couple of questions to see, what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish. And then there's a little bit of a survey afterwards and a training we're going to give you that'll help you out. At the very least, the training will be super valuable to help you get more insights on, whether you want to do this for yourself or you want some help, getting you guys there.